In the next One Piece, shot through the hat, and you're too late.
You know the lyric is "you're to blame," right?
No, it's you're too late.
It's not.
I have it written down here.
Okay, you have it written down.
I have, in the next One Piece, shot through the hat, and you're too late.
Okay, so that's what you wrote.
Correct,
but
because that's a reference to Bon Jovi's Midnight Train Going Anywhere.
What?
He collaborated with Eminem.
No, stop.
And it was related to 8 Mile, which was the length
Please,
of the train
God,
track.
You're killing me.
And that's what caused everyone at the disco to panic.
King of the Wetness gonna take you down, gonna take you down. Marineford Arc, yeah, it's getting hot now. It's getting hot now. King of the Wetness gonna take you down, gonna take you down. Marineford Arc, yeah, it's getting hot now. It's getting hot now. We've got a multi-act season, 1, 2, 3. So come aboard to brave the sea. Supernovas and mystery. Warlords, wars, and tragedy. King of the Wetness gonna take you down. Gonna take you down. Marineford Arc, yeah, it's getting hot now. It's getting hot now.
Celestial dragons, lowest of low. Overwhelming enemies, it's time to go. Luffy's gonna fight for his big bro, so now it's time to start the show.
Hello, fellow 3D animated adventures of the Grand Line, and welcome to a 3D animated special episode of King of the What Now?
Oh, heck, we're animating this? Do we have the budget for that?
Yeah, I found a couple of pennies underneath the couch. How much could animation cost, really? Like $10?
3D animation? I think you're about right.
Okay, excellent. We are a One Piece podcast covering the anime from the very beginning, and also, we're the only source of One Piece themed dogs. Frankie would be the biggest dog.
Big boy.
Big boy. And we have a skeleton dog? Don't even ask us how we managed that, but...
Tim Burton was involved, briefly.
Absolutely. I'm your host, Joel, longtime fan of the series, and also, I'm just this big, fat plorf of a dog with a really freakishly long tongue.
And I'm your captain, and I want you to get out of here. Don't you understand? I'm dying. I can't protect you anymore. Here! Oh, I just swallowed a fork. I was being dramatic.
Maybe you should be like the Shakespearean pirates, the theater pirates or something like that. Oh, that would be such a cool version of Buggy's Crew if you had... like, if they did it like a performance or whatever, and they actually, like, worked together and did cohesive things, that'd be cool.
That would be cool. Too bad Buggy's Crew is Buggy's Crew.
Crew, yes, unfortunately.
Oh, also, I'm Kat. I'm the ghost of the show.
Excellent.
In case our listeners have forgotten who I am, and my impersonation was too spot on.
In case you've faded from memory. Okay, so really quick announcement. One, there are people doing housework. They're going to be doing housework for many weeks, I believe, around the complex.
Joel says housework. Specifically, there are people on our roof doing stuff to the roof.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. The Homeowners Association sent them, and it does not seem like their schedule can be predicted. So, if you hear, like, loud thumps, that is not us committing a murder, probably. But we'll try to edit around those as much as possible. Second announcement. We have a new member of the KotWN family, not a person who's going to be on the episode, but a puppy. Very exciting.
This time it's not even a stuffed animal, like with Pete the Triceratops.
Pete the Triceratops is a valued member of this community, and why do you insult him like this?
I'm not insulting him. He is a valued member of this family, but he's also a stuffed animal, and this puppy is real, is what I was trying to.
Absolutely. If you hear growling or yipping or anything like that,
snarfling.
We are going to try to edit around her, and we thought she would be napping, but apparently she found her second wind. So she is currently right next to me, just going to town on a chew toy, but every once in a while she might make a sound and it might slip into the audio. I really apologize.
She has been lecturing that chew toy intermittently, you know? She'll take a bite and then she'll look at it and she'll go, "Arr!" And then she'll bite it again. And I don't know what she's trying to communicate, but I hope that her feelings are reaching the spirit of the toy.
Absolutely. For anyone who is curious, she is a mini Aussie, and she is mostly monochrome black with a couple of white splotches. And she has a name, but we're not supposed to use the name around her until we've trained her to respond to it. So it's the Japanese word for grandpa, because she has a little tuft of hair on her chin that looks like a beard. And that's your puppy update. And so Yeah, we have to get into chatting with the host before we get into the main episode.
Sure, what have you been reading, watching, listening to?
I have been playing Crash 4 a lot more. I think I mentioned a couple of episodes back that I'd picked it up. I took a break, but now I'm like into it and kind of trying to 100% it. I've never been able to do the time trials, and I don't consider that part of my 100%, even though it totally is. But I'm getting all the gems, I'm playing all the inverted levels, I'm getting all the flashback tapes and that sort of thing. So it's a wild ride. There are some tough levels in that game. There's one that I skipped because I literally could not figure out how you're supposed to get all of the crates.
Wow.
But I'll look up a guide, and I don't consider that cheating because I gave it my best effort for about an hour before I decided to skip it.
I feel that.
Yes.
Some of these games, especially like older games, just seem impossible, and it's amazing to me that people learned how to play them before there was internet.
Absolutely. And yeah, it is insane, and like there's secret hidden colored gems, and I like hidden things like hidden stars in, I don't know, Mario Galaxy, for example. But without the internet, I would have no idea even what levels to play in order to get them. So 2 of them I found on my own, but the other 2 I just straight up looked up what level is it, not how to get it, but like where should I even start to look. And I think that I firmly believe that games should have some kind of hint system that doesn't tell you exactly where it is, but like if you get to the level where you need the red gem and you haven't found the red gem, if it could just tell me like what world to look in or something like that.
Like the parrot in Mario Odyssey.
Yes,
was
exactly.
really helpful. Yeah, I tend to prefer puzzle games to like platformers. And the thing that really frustrates me about a lot of these levels is it doesn't seem like you have to do a clever thing. It just seems like you have to mess around and hope that you run into it.
Okay.
And so I would rather have a puzzle to solve, you know? Like in Pokemon, you move the boulders around in a certain order, or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, I think puzzles are good. I would say that as someone who's been putting in the time of playing Crash, that it's not necessarily try something and see if it works. A lot of the times you have a general idea what to do. There's one thing where you slide and then jump where you can get some distance that I didn't know until I looked it up, but everything else I've either figured out or I've looked up and I went, oh yeah, given the mechanics, it makes sense that you could do something like that. So it's more about the timing than it is the throwing spaghetti at the wall.
That's fair. I'm bad at timing.
Yes.
is the thing. My hand-eye coordination is not developed. Is there anything else that you've been doing that you want to talk about?
We've been reading Words of Radiance for our upcoming bonus episode. That's going to be in November, but because Sanderson just can't write succinctly, we have to start early or we won't finish reading it in time.
Yeah, I'm very excited to do that episode. I think it's going to be a lengthy one because it is a lengthy book, so there's a lot to talk about. We did a lot of books this year. Our October bonus is going to be Gideon the Ninth.
That's right.
So,
I wanted to call it, is Harrow the Ninth the sequel?
Harrow the Ninth is the sequel, and Ninth House is an entirely separate book by Leigh Bardugo.
Okay, but we're not covering that because it's not part of the same. Okay.
Speaking of Leigh Bardugo, I finished the King of Scars duology.
Yep.
So I am done with the Grishaverse.
For now.
And for now, I'm mad. The King of Scars duology should not have been a duology. It should have been a trilogy. And I understand why it was a duology, but she ended it in such a way that, like, there's clearly additional plot that all of the characters in the second book are going to be involved in whatever the next series is. So, like, just have it be a trilogy, man.
Yeah, could the next one be the Avengers-style crossover? Like, all of these characters are going to be involved, but also all of the other characters are going to be involved?
I mean, could be.
Okay.
I did really enjoy it. It was significantly different than the first 2 duologies. You're a pretty big fan of softer magic systems.
Yeah.
So I think it will be your favorite.
Okay, interesting.
Because it gets fairly soft, but
it's like butter. It gets fairly soft. The a tier list YouTube video of all 6 books when.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that's pretty much all I've been doing. Like Joel said, we have a puppy, so I've been watching a lot of McCann dog training on YouTube. I'm a little obsessive. I made spreadsheets that I haven't yet shared with my husband, but I fully imagine he will call me a nerd because they're color-coded and stuff.
I mean, I once wrote a script that would tell me when I was going to finish my NaNoWriMo goals based off of my current writing trend, and it would tell me whether I've been improving or disproving. You know what I'm saying. So we are both nerds. Also, we run a One Piece podcast, so...
Anime is mainstream now. Everybody's into anime.
But our anime podcast mainstream.
Oh, that's a good point. That is
Yes.
a good point. Anime is mainstream and podcasts are mainstream, but in the center of that Venn diagram, like how mainstream is that?
Nerds is what sits in that center section.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just about it. So
Yeah, so let's get into this episode. Let's do it.
So we watched two things. One was a special and one was a movie. We watched Infiltration Thousand Sunny, as well as One Piece 3D Straw Hat Chase. And when I was looking these up, they apparently have a bunch of different names, but basically we watched a 3D special of Brook touring the Thousand Sunny, and then we saw a movie where Luffy loses his hat and tries to get it back. And it is a relatively short movie, and I believe that it was released as like a double feature with like Toriko, if I remember correctly from the wiki. And so that's what we're going to be reviewing today. Today's episode will either be shorter than usual, especially if the puppy starts acting up, but it might also be a longer episode, or a normal length episode, if we decide to revisit Marineford and maybe have additional thoughts since the last episode that we recorded with Franz. So check the runtime. If you have it on YouTube or you're on your podcatcher, you can see the total length, and if it's shorter, it's because there's not a lot of content in this special and movie. Also, they are both animated in 3D. I think I already said that, but I just want to add that again. So that's like the main appeal is like, look at these models.
Yeah, the short is basically just showing off clips from when they were on the Sunny in the movie.
Yeah, it almost felt like an advert, and I think that's might have been what it was. All right, so One Piece 3D, Straw Hat Chase. Luffy's hat is missing, and they find a dying old man whose crew broke up because he's a dying old man, but one of his crew members, a dog, believes that if he captures Straw Hat Luffy, that their pirate crew will get back together again because the dog doesn't understand that the man is dying, so he steals Luffy's hat, and Luffy tries to get his hat back, and then they end up at a marine base, and then there's some fighting. And then it turns out that the old man is not in fact dying, and he and the dog sail off into the sunset to live happily ever after.
Yeah, so basically the movie opens on this old man, like, coughing up blood, right? And telling this dog, like, you gotta get out of here, you gotta leave me, there's nobody left, it's just the two of us, and I'm not strong enough to protect you anymore. You know, your basic emotional blackmail.
Yeah.
But then they overhear Marines talking about Straw Hat Luffy and his bounty and whatever. And the guy goes, look, dog, I'll give you a deal. If you can bring me the hat of Straw Hat Luffy, I will let you stay with me. Which is just really terrible. Like, he thought this dog would fail and that he would die while it was off trying. And, like, man, clearly the dog is intelligent enough to hear that and go do it, so you could probably say, like, I'm dying.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, plot twist, the hat is stolen. Usopp's getting up in the middle of the night, he goes to the bathroom, and as he's coming back to the room that all the guys sleep in, he sees a bird flying away. But you'll notice that I said a dog steals Luffy's hat. Well, this dog ate the bird fruit model eagle, I believe is what Robin says at the end of the movie, and for some reason, its eagle form is giant, like the size of the Thousand Sunny, and I didn't think that eagles got that big in the One Piece universe.
It's a hybrid form that's that big.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
its bird form is like regular size, but also why is its hybrid form so big when its eagle form isn't and its dog form isn't? It's just the force of his spirit. This dog eagle is a really good fighter, turns out, so he and Luffy have a great, powerful brawl.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the episode, or end of the movie, guess what happens? It looks like Luffy might not get his hat back, but the dog, that old son of a bitch, has come back for one last fly and is able to rescue both Luffy and the hat.
That's beautiful.
Not as beautiful as the puppy. I can only see her back legs because her front half is underneath the chair that I podcast in.
What a beautiful girl.
What an amazing dumbass.
We're trying not to be obsessed with the new puppy, but it's hard.
Absolutely.
I adopted her to be Joel's best friend, and she's kind of latched onto me, so I'm hoping on Monday when I go back to work, she will get over that.
To be clear, I work, but I'm still work from home, whereas you go into an office. I'm not unemployed. But what did you think of this special? Or of this movie?
I actually feel like I would have liked it better if it was a filler episode or like a couple of filler episodes.
Okay.
As a movie, there wasn't a lot of meat to it. And I liked the dog. Like, I thought he was cool, and I thought his devil fruit was cool. But it mostly felt like an excuse to show off the 3D. And as a person living in 2021, I was not impressed by the 3D. And so it was just kind of, average. I would have preferred it if it were just the regular One Piece art style.
Yeah, the other movies that we have seen and will cover eventually, Film Gold, Strong World, Film Z, Stampede, even Baron Amatsuri, they have characters and they have villains, and maybe you don't always know exactly what the villains want. Like, those first two movies just had bad guys that were like, we're bad guys for the sake of being bad, but like, you still have character interactions and stuff like that, whereas this one, there's really only, I'd say, 3 characters that are introduced that actually have like personalities or anything. There's a Navy captain who manages to take Luffy's hat and he shoots it with his pistol, and that was a mistake. There's the dog, whose name I don't even remember, and then there's the old man. There's a couple of other marine enemies that show up. There's a couple of giants that the rest of them have to fight, but they don't get names.
Oh, yeah, there was a giant fight. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, there were like 4 of them this time. It was kind of cool. But like, you only get 3 characters, and they are all just flat character archetypes. You have the old man who thinks that he's past his prime, you have the dog who's very loyal, and you have the Navy guy who's very conniving. And
also, it kind of felt like the Navy showed up out of nowhere at the end, like just to give Luffy and the dog a reason to band together.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. So, it just didn't have any of the character, any of the plot that you'd expect, and so it was basically just to show off the 3D, which, as far as I know, they've never used again, maybe because this one was so bland, but I don't know. I feel like if you're going to try and show off something, you need to have a reason to show it off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned this while we were recording, but when I was a kid, we went to Universal Studios and they had like the Shrek 3D adventure, and you sat in like this theater and the seats moved to match what was happening on screen. And like, if they splashed into water, you got sprayed with water and stuff like that.
Oh.
And we were watching this and I was like, same vibes. Like, I'm positive this was a theme park ride somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you ride that ride?
Yes.
Okay.
If I were experiencing this as an amusement park ride, I would have had a great time.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Especially if, like, during the sky chase, when Luffy's chasing after the dog, if your seat was rumbling and rocking and rolling and that kind of thing.
Right, like, that would have been so fun.
Okay. So, that's kind of all the thoughts that we have. I do have one favorite scene, and it's not really a scene, it's just, most of these movies and specials, they give the characters different outfits, and Chopper is wearing a button-up shirt and a tie, and the tie clip is a Sakura petal, and I think that is Chopper's best look.
That's so cute. I love our little doctor man.
He's pretty great. Also, Chopper is kind of the MVP because he ends up being the one who realizes that the old man had swallowed a fork and that's why he was dying.
Yeah, I had a scene that I hated.
Okay.
It was the old man isn't dying, he's just stupid moment.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before. Oda has characters that are ridiculous and outlandish, but also have, like, kind of hidden depth to them. Mr. 2 and Ivankov are pretty good examples of that. They're very flamboyant or whatever. We'll eventually get to Doflamingo, who's like the zany weirdo, but then maybe there's more tragedy to his past, that sort of thing. Buggy, is a fan favorite who's wacky, but also he's in some serious scenes in One Piece. But the filler episodes and the movies and stuff, it always feels like they are trying to capture that spirit and they just fumble it in some way. Like, Old Man thinks he's dying, not actually dying. I could see Oda turning into a gag, like if it's a recurring gag, like an old man's like, I guess I'm gonna die. And then they go, oh, I guess I'm fine. And then like Nami and Usopp are like, you were never really dying in the first place. That would be funny. That would be Oda. Funny. But just Guy disbands his pirate crew because he thinks he's dying, but actually he just swallowed something wrong.
So, did you get the impression that he disbanded everyone else? Because I thought everyone else had died, and it was just him and the dog left.
Yeah, I got the impression that they had disbanded, but you're right that maybe they did all perish because he wasn't strong enough to protect them. God, could you imagine if, like, Luffy got a spur in his foot and it caused him to be unable to protect Usopp? Like...
No, I can't.
That would make Luffy a little pathetic in my eyes.
Exactly, yeah.
I guess that's different than swallowing a fork, though, maybe.
But, you know, like, aside from the fact that it wasn't really interesting or funny... It just took the emotional stakes of the movie and was like, haha, you were invested in something that was never really a problem.
It's the, we're going to tie everything up in a neat little bow at the end of it. Like, even if Chopper had come up with a miracle cure or something, like, that would be better than he had made some mistake or something like that. Or maybe he got injured while trying to go find some, like, super cool treasure, so it's kind of his fault that he got sick, but... they had 30 minutes and they just didn't care about the plot very much,
I feel that sometimes when you are making a product for young children, then you just make something that's going to sell.
Absolutely. I refuse to release a 20-minute King of the What Now episode when the chatting with the host was like 8 minutes. So, let's go back to Marineford and see if there's anything else that we can kind of talk about, and we can kind of talk about it as an arc as a whole, as opposed to in episode chunks like we've been doing.
Absolutely. So here's the question that I kind of wanted to cover when you said, we might talk about Marineford a little bit. What do you think are going to be the global implications of what has happened here?
Well, I think Kobe crying out that don't the Marines look like idiots, Akainu almost killing a subordinate, I believe, were they still being broadcast at that point? I don't know if it was being broadcast, but the Whitebeard pirates, the remnants of them, and the Marines were definitely there, and they definitely saw it. Like Shanks said, your courage changed history, which at one point when I was much younger, I thought maybe Shanks has, like, the ability to, like, see the future and, like, literally knew that Kobe had, like, shifted it. But now I'm starting to think that it's probably much more likely that he can just kind of read the flow of history, like, to the point of he knows that this will affect the Marines going forward, and that will in turn affect the world. But I just feel like the Marines are going to undergo some kind of a change, whether they become, like, more menacing, or maybe they will become more peacekeeping in line with Kobe's values. I think that's going to be one of the major things we see going forward.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think you're right. I think that Kobe will have changed the Marines, hopefully for the better. And this is all speculation without using the foreknowledge that we have, obviously. Like, this is if we didn't know what was coming. But I'm wondering if we're going to see a new wave of pirate activity. Like, I'm wondering if Whitebeard will have set off the second Grand Pirate Age, the way that Gold Roger set off the first. And, like, that would be interesting to see Luffy interacting with newbies, right? Like, people who came behind him and maybe were inspired by his actions directly at Marineford.
Okay, yeah, I like it. I also wonder if... Now, I don't know how much they're going to publicize about Blackbeard showing up. They're obviously going to put a big emphasis on Whitebeard and Ace are both dead to try to boost morale. But if word of Blackbeard's appearance gets out, if word of Whitebeard thrashing Akainu gets out, I could see that, in addition to Whitebeard's final words, inspiring more pirates to be like, oh, maybe the Marines aren't as powerful as we thought. They're weak. Now's our time to strike.
Absolutely. Well, and everybody made such a big deal before the war about what Whitebeard's death or defeat could mean for the world, because he is this hugely powerful figure. So he's dead now. That's a pretty sizable power vacuum. Who is going to fill it, and what are going to be, like, the growing pains that the world goes through as a result?
Yeah. You never got to the end of Yu Yu Hakusho, but this isn't really, like, major spoilers. This is, like, the plot that's happening in the background as opposed to, like, what the characters are going through. But there's 3 really powerful people who all want to rule, but if person A attacks person B, because they're about equal strength, even if A wins, they'll be severely weakened, and then C will just come in and kill them. So they're in this, like, 3-way stalemate where none of them can take action. I don't know how well that works out in a 4-person power struggle, but I could see Whitebeard's death causing the other 3 to take action. Like, oh, this island was under Whitebeard's protection, but now Whitebeard is dead, so we'll move in and we'll get this super rare resource that Whitebeard was keeping from us, or something like that. Like, I could see this spurning the other 3 into action. Maybe not Shanks. It doesn't seem like he wants power, but he might have a goal, and maybe for some reason Whitebeard opposed him, so maybe Shanks can move. But we don't know anything about the other 2.
Shanks is like, I showed up, I'm f***ing off back to my mountain. Goodbye.
What about, will Ace's death specifically have any impact on the world outside of Luffy, do you think?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. Because Ace was largely, I want to say he was largely unknown, but he was a division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates.
But he is kind of eclipsed by Whitebeard. The death of Whitebeard in this case, since they happened on the same day, are like the same event. Whereas like if Ace died on a Tuesday and then Whitebeard died on a Friday, you know, there might be historians who are like, oh yes, Ace's death was the first nail in Whitebeard's coffin. But because they were both killed at the same time, I really can't see Ace's death specifically having an impact except for those who like personally knew him. And it will demoralize the Whitebeard pirates the same way that Whitebeard's death will. And so...
yeah, it will be interesting to see if the Whitebeard Pirates try to get any sort of revenge on Blackbeard or on the Marines.
Yeah. Something that there's an unknown in the equation that I would be uncomfortable at this moment trying to guess what would happen if Blackbeard and the remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates clashed. Because on one hand, without Whitebeard, how strong is Whitebeard's crew? Like, was his leadership really that important, or are each of the division commanders pretty capable in their own way? I don't know. Would Blackbeard be able to fight someone of Whitebeard's caliber if he hadn't already been weakened? I don't know, but how strong is the crew without Whitebeard? I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if the Whitebeard pirates decided to try and get their revenge by attacking Blackbeard. He is a coward. He is responsible for the death of their 1st Division commander and, well, 2nd Division commander, I think, is Ace. 1st Division is Marco. But killing both Whitebeard and Ace, like, in the most cowardly way possible, I think that they would want to be driven to revenge. But, I mean, Blackbeard seems to be set up to be the end series antagonist. I've mentioned that a couple of times on the podcast, and maybe we could talk about that, but I just don't see him being taken out by someone other than Luffy.
Yeah, I agree.
So, who knows where the story will go? Who knows how strong those people in Blackbeard's command will end up being, you know, San Juan Wolf and all those other new recruits. Let's talk about Ace's death and, what would that mean for Luffy's character, do you think?
This is pretty much the first time Luffy has lost anybody, right?
As far as we've seen, yeah. He hasn't had anyone killed. He lost his crew, but I think he can figure that they're probably still alive.
So I could see this going one of two ways. I could see him just completely shutting down and having a meltdown over, I'm not strong enough to protect anyone. I can't keep being a pirate. And then somebody, probably his crew, has to pull him back from that. Like, we're relying on you. You can't give up now after all of the things that you've said to us.
Luffy drunk in a bar, Zoro comes in and slaps him. You're just gonna give up like that, you damn captain?
Exactly. Alternatively, I could see this being a really powerful motivator to get stronger so that this doesn't happen again. If he had been just a little bit faster and a little bit stronger and a little bit more observant, he could have saved Ace.
Okay. Yeah. He was saved by Law, so without future knowledge, I am curious how that's going to work out. Like, where's Law going to drop him off? Is he going to be, like, taken as prisoner? And Law will be like, all right, if your crew wants to save you, they'll give me 80 million berries.
Yeah, I got the impression from Sabaody that all of the different supernova don't really play nice with others.
Mm-hmm.
So what's Law's game here? Why did he show up, which was very risky in the first place, and then choose to save a competing pirate captain? Like, is he hoping to gain something out of this? Or was he just so impressed by Luffy at Sabaody that he's like, no, we gotta go. Or maybe Dragon is his dad too. Maybe he's like, we're brothers, man, so I'm here for you.
That's my secret plot twist. Okay, maybe. I think he did say something about, like, even though he's going to be tomorrow's rival, he might be an ally today. So I would assume that he is going to try and play this card, like, hey, I saved your life, help me break into, not impel down, but you know what I'm saying? Like, break into this government vault or something like that. Maybe he will take Luffy's straw hat. Maybe it's imbued with special power, and he wants that power for himself. I don't know. Maybe he just wants as many pirates around who can destabilize the government as possible, because he can't do it on his own, but if Luffy's running around rampaging, maybe he'll get to go a little bit farther on the seas, unmolested by all these other people.
Perfect. What would you want out of a follow-up arc to this? Like, what do you expect to have coming, or what would you like to see?
This might be wishful thinking, but you know, after the death of Whitebeard, who's this big mythical figure, I could almost see the Whitebeard pirates disbanding, being disheartened. I don't think that's the case because they're the crew of a Yonko, of an Emperor of the Sea, so I think that they've been traveling the seas for a long time, and I think that they're probably hardened against that kind of thing. But I think it would be interesting if they got disillusioned and disbanded, and Luffy ended up becoming kind of like their new commander. He's not doing it on purpose, but like maybe Marco has the key to the secret island or something, and so he has to go to Marco, and his enthusiasm and his spirit somehow helps Marco be like, okay, yeah, you're pretty cool. Yeah, Whitebeard told us to help you out no matter what. There's no reason to think that he meant only for the duration of the battle. Yeah, I'll help you out.
I love that.
And so I like the idea of Luffy kind of reassembling this crew and making it maybe as strong, if not stronger, than it was before. But realistically, Luffy's not going to he's not going to just like get up tomorrow and be like, oh boy, time to go on an adventure. Like, this has to have an impact on his character. He got so depressed and so much Zetsubo despair that he passed out on the battlefield. So, you know, he's not just going to sip some orange juice and be like, I'm ready to tackle the day. So I'm very curious how he's going to get his groove back, so to speak.
Absolutely. I would like to see the next set of episodes kind of focus on, I think Nami, actually. I don't know why, but I think it would be the most interesting to see her reaction to the news and her trying to get to Luffy. Luffy rescued her from a very bad emotional place, and it would be cool to see her do that for him. Sure.
It's interesting because you said Nami, and I was like, of course Nami, but then I was like, but also, of course, Usopp, and of course, you know, Luffy has very personal connections with all of the crew, but I would argue, and, you know, this is just an opinion, but I'd say that, like, Nami and maybe Usopp and Robin are the three that had, like, the biggest their lives are the most impacted by Luffy's appearance, just because Robin literally was willing to die or basically had given up on life. She was passively suicidal,
right.
In a sense, but now she wants to live. And Nami had spent her entire life working towards a goal, and then all of that just crumbled, and she was literally, you know, trying to like cut out the tattoo on her arm. And so I think that they will be impacted by it. I think everyone will be impacted by it, but I would especially like to see those who Luffy has helped through the hardest times be there for him. But also they're separated by, who knows, an unknown amount of distance, and how are they even going to find him unless Law drops him off at Sabaody or something like that? So I don't know. I have no idea.
Does Law have an underwater palace to go with his underwater ship?
Oh my god, he's friends with Neptune or something like that, you know? Or Poseidon, that's the word I'm looking for.
There you go. So did you have anything else that you kind of wanted to cover in this Marineford retrospective?
Okay, so Roger became the king of the pirates. He was the first man to conquer the sea. We've heard that intro to, you know, so many episodes of One Piece. But I don't think that he was just the king of the pirates because he was the strongest. I think that there was some quality about him because, like, if you look at Kid literally was, like, crucifying people, civilians who disagreed with his goal of Pirate King, and, like, Law seems to be able to behead people, and they're still alive, but, like, that's a certain level of brutality, you know what I'm saying? And Roger just sat down with the guy we're told is his rival and is just like, hey, do you want to hear the story of like what I've discovered on my pirate adventure? And that doesn't feel like the power hungry, people that we've seen in the One Piece world so far. And so I'm really interested to see more of Roger's story, and I'm really interested to see how it ties into Luffy. And as we've explained before, it would be dumb if Luffy was the only chosen one. Before he was born, it was his chance to become the next Pirate King, and he would bring peace to the world. But I do think that Luffy has those intrinsic qualities, similar to what Roger had, that would allow him to actually do it, which explains why Whitebeard said, it's not you that Roger is waiting for, to Blackbeard, because Blackbeard might be capable of getting to the final island and finding the One Piece, but that's not what Roger was hoping for.
Absolutely.
And that has been your doot final thought. Outro goes here. Thanks for listening, everyone. Apologies for the short episode. We'll try to have a longer discussion question next time if we feel a little anemic. Next episode, we'll be covering episodes 490 through 496. So thank you very much and have a great day. Ha-ha! What a great episode of King of the What Now, your One Piece podcast that started from the very beginning and stars these two doofuses. If you want to follow us on social media, Twitter is the best place to do that. I am at KotWN_pod.
And I am at Pirate Ghost Host.
Absolutely, yes. We share all sorts of thoughts on there, some related to the podcast, some related to other things. But you can also reach us through email at kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com, or you can also find us on Patreon. We would love some subscribers or supporters, whatever the technical term is. Patrons. So fancy and grown up. And you can find that at patreon.com/kingofthewhatpod. You can find all sorts of things like bonus episodes, and you get to see the full cold open candidates, not just the ones that make it into the episode. Maybe someday if I learn to draw, I'll put stuff up there. We're always looking for suggestions and feedback. And speaking of which,
please take a moment to rate and review our podcast wherever you get us from. So iTunes, Spotify, Scrivener, that's for writing. But wherever you listen to our podcast, take a moment to leave a review. It helps other people find us. We are so grateful to all of our listeners, and we couldn't do this without you.
Absolutely. Word of mouth is super powerful, so if you have a friend who likes One Piece and they haven't heard of us, just direct them to the latest episode. And if they hate us, they can tell us why. And if there's an actionable item, we'll try to please you. That's how this works. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.